Hello again, everybody, and welcome back to the channel. Thank you so much for joining us again today. Well, today we're going to be taking a look at a handgun that's been around for a little while, and that is the Springfield Armory XD-9. And even though it's been around for a while, it does offer some different features, gives people some different choices about what they want to carry maybe in a 9mm compact world. We're going to talk about what's unique about the XD-9 and why you might want to have a look at this as an option. We're going to cover all that and more in just a minute. Alright, once again, welcome back. Thanks for being with us today. If this is your first time coming to the channel, or if you've watched our videos before and just have not had the chance to do so before now, and you like our content, please consider subscribing. You can do that by finding that little subscribe button in the lower right hand corner of your screen, or if you're on a mobile device, you can just scroll down below the video and hit subscribe that way. Hit the bell icon to get notified. It's an easy thing you can do that helps out a whole lot, and we really appreciate it. So, XD-9 by Springfield Armory. I got to shoot one of these when they first came out. I wasn't, like many guns that were, I wasn't familiar with. I was pretty funny about anything that looked like it was a Glock clone or kind of based on the same platform. I just wasn't that interested because I figured, well, how many of the same type of gun do we really need? But I found out that there are actually some differences. The closer you look, you can see things that are different, serve different purposes for different people. So let's do a little size comparison as usual here. And of course, something like this, you probably already know, it's kind of meant to go up against the Glock 19. As you can see, these guns are, very much the same size. They're not exactly the same, but they are very, very close. If you look at all their dimensions, from the thickness, the overall length, the length of the grip, it's just slightly longer on the XD-9, but they're very close. And like I said, we always like to start off with a little comparison of this nature because if you're considering carrying this, it's a good idea to have an idea how much bulk and weight that you're considering. And since this is about the same overall size and bulk of a Glock 19, that gives you a good starting point for that. Alright, we're going to jump right into the features here. Before we do, we're going to take this moment to thank our friends over at Don's Weaponry for providing us this beautiful example of the XD-9 by Springfield Armory for our tabletop review today. Don's Weaponry is a huge supporter of firearms safety and education, and we can't thank them enough. So we'll start off usual here, make sure our weapon is clear, magazine is out, and you can see we have a clear chamber. We're just as safe as we can be. So, first thing you'll notice in the top here is you've got a white dot sight system there, just 3 white dots, which is fine. I prefer something a little more, substantial, like either a fiber optic or a tritium component. That's just what I like. I like a really bright front sight, but there's nothing wrong with this. You got some decent, I wouldn't say super heavy, but you got some decent serrations here on the front and the rear. I think with some gloves on, I may have a little more trouble feeling those. You do have an accessory rail here on the front, so if you want to put a light, laser, or combo system on your firearm, you can do that. Takedown lever. This is pretty simple. You can lock the slide back, just rotate that down, then you can pull the whole thing off. Of course, to access your rod, your spring, and your barrel, take all that out for cleaning and such. Your slide lock and release, I showed you that. We'll show you again. So you can see right here, it is just on the left-hand side. And trigger guard, it's a pretty good size. Like I say, it's not all that unlike the Glock trigger guard. You can see that they definitely have been inspired by one another. And that's fine. It's pretty good size. I like my trigger guards to be big. I don't like a trigger guard that's so small I have to kind of find the spot in the trigger. Because to me that's a problem. When you get in a hurry, which you're most likely going to do, if it's a emergency situation, your fine motor skills go out the window. So I would personally like to have a little more space. Your trigger, we'll talk about the trigger a little bit more in the range section, but your magazine release, it's located, you've got this little indentation here for your thumb, and then right below there you've got a kind of a curve. In the magazine release, you can see if I level this up a little bit, you can see that the magazine release is actually even with that little hump. So you can't really hit it accidentally. So there's no way, no matter what kind of grip you have on this gun, you're not going to accidentally take the magazine out. But you can get your thumb in there and it comes out fairly easy. So let's talk about these magazines for a second. So you're looking at this and you may be thinking, what? That's only a 10-round magazine. What is the deal? Well, this is a particular restricted state compliant purchase. You can get these magazines obviously in larger capacity, 16. You can even get, larger aftermarket mags for these things. But this particular kit, this is one that was, compliant for your 10-round magazine states. They make a lot of different versions of this where you can get different magazine capacities. This one just happens to be a low capacity. And I do people have, come on the channel every once in a while. They'll email us and write us and want to know about, options for them, because a lot of the stuff that's cool and neat out there they can't get because of different restrictions in their state. So if this is a gun that you like, you can actually get it out of the box compliant for your state. So, and then of course you have, you may see there's a grip safety on the rear, and some people like these and some people don't. I'm kind of mixed opinions on grip safeties. It's one of those things that, yes, I think it offers you an extra layer of security, but if you're nervous or you're in a hurry or something's going on and you're not quite on that grip safety as well as you should be, maybe that could cause a problem. I don't know. We'll cover that more in the range section. And then the grip itself feels pretty good. It feels very much like a Glock grip, and if you look at the pattern, it's pretty clear that the type of pattern they're using they had to have gotten from somewhere. So the grip feels very Glocky to me. We're going to invent a word and call it Glocky. So that's what it feels like to me. But it doesn't feel bad. And like I say, the handgun actually feels pretty good in your hand. I got pretty good sized hands, and it feels substantial and it feels sure. I don't feel like that I've got a sloppy grip on this thing. I feel like I can hold it well, and I feel like I can handle it well. And of course, one more thing you can see as we turn it, this on the rear, you may see that little button right there. That's your cocked striker indicator, and you see that. And if I pull the trigger, if you watch, you'll see that disappear. Okay, and then once again, you see it reappear, and then if you pull the trigger, it goes away. So that's your summary of features on the XD-9. And like I said, there may be some things on here that you haven't seen on some of the other compacts that maybe is something that you're looking for. All right, well, everybody always wants to know, how well does the gun perform? How reliable is it? How well does it shoot? So we'll talk about some things here. Let me go ahead and pull this magazine out just to let you, once again, that we are safe. You can see, okay. All right, now I talked about that there are some features on this gun that some people may like and some people may not. The biggest thing with me is I'm not a fan of grip safeties. And for those of you that are 1911 fans, and for those of you that just think grip safeties in general are great, I'm not knocking you. I think a lot of these type of features are great. But I also know that in a situation where you're in a hurry, or I could even see a situation where maybe you're having hand strength issues. Maybe you're injured and you're trying to get to your firearm. And if you don't have your hand on that grip safety just right, well, it's not going to work. You have to have it pressed all the way, and if you don't, you'll know it. You can get just a certain ways there, and it doesn't work. So you have to make sure that your hand is, in the grip properly. Now, a lot of people will come back and say, well, you should have a secure grip on the gun no matter what. I agree with that. From a safety standpoint, you should have a good, strong grip on your firearm at all times. You plan on taking a shot with it, you should be in complete control. But I also like to think of those situations where things may not be going so well, and maybe I can't put the best grip I can on this gun, but I still need it to fire for me. I just don't know if I'm as big of a fan of grip safeties as a whole. But let's talk about how it shoots, kind of putting that aside. So the trigger, you got your trigger safety here. Once you pull that in, it has a very smooth bit of take up here. Okay, a lot of times on these compact handguns, like Glocks, especially, I feel like there's kind of a gritty, kind of a crunchy area you have to come through. And this is kind of clean. You come directly back to where the take-up begins, and then you put your pressure in, and it's a nice clean break. You reset. And then you come back. Once again, do reset. Then we come back. Now you may have noticed that's a pretty long reset. That's another thing I'm not real thrilled about. Now, the gun shoots just fine. And if you get used to that long reset, if you know that's how far you have to come out to reset it, that's fine. You'll get used to it. But there's a significant difference between the amount of reset on this gun and pretty much any other compact striker-fired gun that I own. If I shoot this Glock and I reset it, see where that happens? It's a lot earlier. And I think that the reset on Glocks are kind of long, but they're not near as long as the reset on this. To me, that is just a long, long way. The trigger is almost completely back out before it resets. Now, does that mean it's not any good? No, I'm not saying that. For some people, they may like the feel of that. I'm just used to generally having a little bit shorter trigger reset on my gun, and I think I'd have to spend some more time practicing to really be comfortable with that. So as far as reliability, though, even though I'm not a real big fan of the trigger reset, and I don't like the grip safety, it does seem to be pretty reliable. Not really picky about ammo. 115 grade, full metal jacket, the S&B and the PMC both. No problem at all. Of course, it wouldn't be a test without using some of the SIG. I didn't have any of the 124 today in the SIG, but I did have some in the Spear Gold Dot. And the SIG 115 seems to be the favorite, which it often is. And any 9mm handgun that I shoot, the 115 grains V-Crown by SIG seems to be the most accurate round I can shoot. But no problems, no failures, no jams, nothing funny. It didn't take a lot of getting used to produce good shots, good groups with the gun. So I think it's a good firearm. I think if you're used to shooting something with a shorter trigger reset, it's going to take a little getting used to because that's kind of a long reset. But other than that, it seems perfectly reliable and capable and pretty accurate. So what's it like to carry the XD-9 as your daily carry? Well, in the very beginning I showed you, size comparison between this gun and the Glock 19. And honestly, these two firearms feel identical in the holster. As a matter of fact, I normally carry a Glock 19 in like a crossbreed, horsehide with a Kydex molded insert. But I've also got some leather, just some regular DeSantis leather, just open holster that fits a variety of guns in this category. And I switch directly between a leather holster from my Glock 19 and I put the XD-9 right in. These are so close in size that a lot of my universal holsters will fit just fine. And that's what I did with this. I just use a leather DeSantis holster outside the waistband, single clip. And it's, like I say, it's the exact same thing. I even carried this gun in a sticky holster in the waistband just to see what it felt like. This is kind of beyond the size where I would normally do that. But at one time, I carried a Glock 19 as my everyday carry, and I would often carry it that way. So I wanted to see if it was any different with the XD-9. To me, these guns feel identical in the holster. So you got a lot of different good options for holster choices for a gun like this. It has a ton of aftermarket support. If you want something with some positive retention, and I know a lot of people do, to me, if I've got a molded Kydex insert, something like that, that's good enough. or if it's fairly snug in the holster, to me that's a degree of security too. I don't necessarily have to have a locking mechanism, but there are plenty of holsters you can get that'll do that. But as far as the weight and how it feels to carry every day, to me it's just as comfortable as carrying a Glock 19, which I did for years, so it's definitely not an issue as far as I'm concerned. Overall impressions of the XD-9 by Springfield Armory. Well, when this gun first came out, like many guns that came out that kind of followed the Glock, that were aiming toward the same market, I was, whatever. I didn't really see where there's much reason to pay attention. But Springfield's done a pretty good job of making this a good shooting handgun and a reliable handgun. Like I say, I'm not a huge fan of the trigger reset on this gun, nor am I a fan of it having a grip safety. But that's just me. Okay, that's completely personal opinion. This grip safety has absolutely nothing to do with how reliable or how good this gun shoots. I had no problems performing very well with the handgun. And I got used to the trigger. I mean, I can pretty much get used to any gun. You know, give me a couple of boxes of ammunition to put through the gun, and I'll get it figured out. So as far as shooting it accurately and confidently, there's no issues there. So if you are looking for a little bit extra layer of safety, well, you kind of have that with these two things. And let me explain. Obviously, the grip safety is an extra layer that will keep the gun from firing. But a long trigger reset is also another form of safety all by itself. If you have a longer trigger reset, your chances of just making a second shot, you know, if you've got your finger on the trigger, obviously you should have good trigger discipline, but let's just say you have your finger on the trigger, you're taking a shot. If you have a super short trigger reset, which this one does not, you know, if your trigger's already reset anywhere in here and you put any pressure on it, you can be firing the gun again. This one, you have to come out so far. It's a pretty deliberate act, and I think that's an additional layer of safety. But it's a well-made, it's a good-looking and well-made handgun, and people that I know that have carried these for long periods of time, their long-term quality report and reliability reports have been good. So I think they make a good product for the money. So if you're wanting to get something that's in the size category, but you don't like Glock, or you don't want to pay money for an HK, or you have just aversions to the other varieties out there that are in the same market, whether it's Smith or anything else, it's definitely worth a look. It's not a bad handgun. It does have some extra safety features that may appeal to some people. And there you have it. All right. Well, that is going to do it for today. We certainly appreciate you being with us as always. We'll be back soon with another video for you. So until that time, everyone stay safe and have a great day. Thank you.